I sent my boyfriend a selfie. Am I pretty? Can you post a picture of me on your social media feed? My boyfriend didn't reply. But 5 minutes later, my boyfriend's best friend posted a picture of me on his social media feed, with the comment, "Damn, she's pretty." Liam has known my boyfriend since they were kids, and the two of us have a lot in common. That's why the long line of comments at the bottom of the social media feed, all reading, reminded me. This social media feed is not just for my eyes, it is public. I don't have much contact with Liam, and most of what I know about him comes from Ethan and his classmates. He comes from a privileged family and is extremely capable. This excellence gives him the capital to act recklessly and arrogantly. But that doesn't mean I should tolerate his senseless behavior. As Ethan's girlfriend, I have always maintained a proper but distant distance from his friends, and I pride myself on not having offended Liam. Why did he publicly embarrass me? And how did he get the photos I sent privately to Ethan? A series of questions prompted me to open his messaging app dialog box with trembling hands and make a messaging app call. There was no answer. I frowned and put down the phone when my best friend's phone suddenly popped up. "Ava, you have to come to the Breeze Cafe at school. Ethan and Liam are fighting here. It's really bad. Hurry." When I arrived at the Breeze, it was already class time. But there were still people gathered outside the door in 3 layers. When they saw me coming, the murmurs of the crowd died down, and they even automatically made a path for me and gave me a stare. Ignoring the strange looks from the crowd, I rushed into the cafe. Tables and chairs were flying about in the elegant cafe. It was not difficult to see that there had just been a fierce fight here. Ethan and Liam, the two people who had caused all this chaos, still looked very calm despite the varying degrees of bruises on their faces. They even coincidentally slowly tidied themselves up in the mess. I don't know how to judge whether Ethan had lost or won. Judging from his more serious wounds, he lost this battle. But he won because he had a pretty little girl by his side. The little girl was wearing a white dress, with big innocent eyes and tears hanging from them like broken threads. She was carefully wiping the blood off Ethan's face with a piece of paper. Of course I recognized her. She was the campus beauty from the dance department at our school, and Ethan's childhood friend. I know her because Ethan's note to her is an emoji red heart. When I found out, he explained that his childhood friend's name is Luna, and when you type the word heart, the emoji red heart will automatically pop up. Luna thought it was very interesting and wanted all her friends to give her this note. He didn't think it was a big deal and just went along with his next-door neighbor's sister's wishes. I half believed and half doubted this claim. However, the sight of her at that moment, intimately half-crouching next to Ethan and weeping, told me that my trust had been misplaced. Luna harbored deep animosity towards me. Looking at me with poisoned eyes, she trotted up to me, pointed at my nose, and stood on the moral high ground to judge me. "Ava, how can you still have the face to come here? You obviously already have Ethan, so why don't you cherish him? Wandering between 2 men makes you feel very interesting and exciting, doesn't it? Brother Liam and brother Ethan are good friends." Luna's eyes were red from crying. But her mouth, under her delicate appearance, was unforgiving, and her voice was so shrill that it almost pierced my eardrums. I rubbed my itchy ears in displeasure and took her hand away from my nose. "Has no one told you that this is very rude? You're high and mighty. What kind of family values are you talking about when you're having an affair with your boyfriend's brother?" Luna became more and more angry as she spoke, and she reached out with her other hand to slap me in the face. I narrowed my eyes and caught her wrist, shaking it off fiercely. What was this? A weak, fake innocent girl bravely fighting for love against a bad woman who is playing with 2 men? Are you really a dancer or a cook? Exaggerating and twisting the truth is in your DNA, isn't it? She was pushed by me and stumbled, looking up at me incredulously with tears in her eyes. "Ethan, why is she like this?" I turned my head and rolled my eyes. Liam, who was sitting nearby, leisurely tidying his clothes, let out an untimely chuckle in the silence. I looked at him subconsciously and saw that he had already returned to his usual refined and despicable appearance. He walked slowly, his aura low and suppressing, like a mountain blocking my path. Liam's voice was languid. When he looked at Ethan, he hardened his tone a little. Ethan, are you just going to let your little girl go crazy? Luo Jainixin, this little girl who judges people according to their appearance, obviously softened her tone when she accused Liam. Brother Liam, what kind of drug has this woman put you under that you still protect her? You and Ethan have been friends for so many years, can't you be more like brothers than a woman? In my eyes, you are different from Ava, you are at least reasonable. The younger girl knows how to play on multiple sides. But unfortunately, she has hit a brick wall. Facing her guilt-tripping, Liam took a step back with disgust, as if he was afraid that Luo Jinxin's flying spittle would spray on him. This behavior made Ava wipe the corner of her mouth a little embarrassedly. Liam was impervious to persuasion. Don't try to flatter me. Every dog within a 5-mile radius of our neighborhood knows that I'm an unreasonable jerk. And you're the one here talking to me about being reasonable. We're the ones who started this. Ava didn't do anything, so if you want to be reasonable, there's no one more reasonable than her. Let's take it one step further. Just because you can turn around and cry and find Ethan, does that mean I'm not allowed to come out and support Ava? I'm making it clear today that whether or not I'm willing to reason with you depends on her. I'm only responsible for siding with her and supporting her unreasonableness today. Do you understand? His speech was fast, but his logic was clear and sonorous, with an irresistible certainty. Ethan looked over with slight surprise. I guess he doesn't know when Liam and I became such close friends. Even I was confused. In the midst of my confusion, a strange warmth spread through my limbs. After the death of my parents, I boarded at my uncle's house and was forced to mature earlier than my peers. I had become accustomed to facing many things on my own. But would someone so openly support me like this? Although I don't know the reason, I can't help but tremble. Ethan didn't say a word, but grabbed Luna's slender wrist and led her behind him. He ignored my presence the entire time. His actions undoubtedly implied that his little girl was Luo Jainixin. He rubbed his forehead and said in a tired voice, Jainixin, don't be silly. Ava is not the kind of person you think she is. One was the intimate Jainixin, and the other was Ava, who was even named after her surname. In just a few words, Ethan has already clearly distinguished the closeness of their relationship. I suddenly feel that I was worried about Liam's behavior earlier, which would make him lose face. There was a glass window between us. Outside, there was a crowd of onlookers, and some students even took out their phones to take pictures. I didn't even need to think about it. Soon. The scene of Ethan from the law department protecting his childhood friend and dance department campus beauty behind him in front of his girlfriend would wreak havoc on our school's social media platforms. Did he consider my feelings? I took 2 deep breaths and walked as calmly as I could to Ethan. He was sitting in a chair with his back straight, looking as radiant as ever, and he didn't want to look up at me. But I needed an explanation. Ethan, do you have an explanation for what happened on the social media feed and what I just saw? There was a long silence of 10 seconds. What you saw is what you saw. I don't have anything to explain. His tone was so lame. The voiceover was just, can you bear it? If you can, continue the conversation. If not, get lost. Sure enough, the saying that a girl chasing a guy is all talk is true. In a relationship, if the girl is too proactive, it will never end well. My chest rose and fell uncontrollably a few times. No explanation? I was about to say it when I suddenly laughed out of anger, then let's break up. Well, whatever. His tone was unruffled. It reminded me of the day I confessed to him. I rehearsed confessing to him 3 or 4 days in advance. I was so nervous that I stuttered. Unfortunately, the response I got in the end was also lukewarm. Okay, let's try. I quietly looked at the top of his head and lingered for 3 seconds. Then I turned my head and walked away. When I left Breeze Cafe, a breeze passed by me, taking away most of the moisture in the corner of my eyes. Liam jogged up to me, smiling from ear to ear, tugging at the hem of my shirt as if we were old friends. Shall we go together? I could believe that he knew he was good-looking and deliberately showed off his good looks in front of me. Just like at this moment. He had clearly just finished tidying himself up meticulously, but had left the dried blood at the corners of his mouth, as well as the slightly reddened marks around his eyes. He looked quite rugged and handsome. I looked at the instigator of this farce with mixed emotions. I'm not stupid. From the moment I rushed over and saw that Luo Nixon was by Ethan's side, I understood what was going on. The most likely reason was that Ethan had a beautiful woman by his side and he didn't have time to reply to my message. Liam couldn't stand by and watch, so he used this method to remind me. Although this guy's thinking is a bit strange, after all, his intentions were good. It's rare to find someone so kind and good-hearted by Ethan's side. I asked him, "Where are you going?" "Nowhere in particular." "Why don't we walk together for a while?" "Sure." He immediately beamed a wider smile and followed me happily. I emerged from the chaotic scene, followed by Liam, who was already a hot topic of discussion at school. Walking with him on campus, I got almost 200% of the attention. I was tired of being looked at, but those stares suddenly made me think of something. By the way, delete your social media feed. Can I not? Yes, but I'll slap you. In the face of my firm attitude. He reluctantly took out his phone and deleted the social media feed. His face, which was close to 190 centimeters tall, was full of a dejected expression. For some reason, it reminded me of the old yellow dog that my grandmother kept at home, chained to the door and unable to eat meat. It's like a big wolf dog, him. This strange thought gently crossed my mind. And I suppressed it again. Walking to the school gate, I said goodbye to him. "I'll go home first, thank you for everything today." It was just a perfunctory thank you, but his complex brain circuit gave a meaningful reply. Why say that? It's just my job. It was just a little over an hour. Liam's social media screenshot. The video and photos of Liam and Ethan fighting in the coffee shop, and Ethan defending Luna in front of me swept the front page of the school forum. And the discussion was extremely high. The title of, "The Ultimate Four-Cornered Love Triangle Where You Love Me, I Love Him, and He Loves Her," came. It's unbelievable. So the first thing my gossip-loving best friend said when she got back to our shared apartment was, "Ava, have you seen the school forum? Those people are really talented. Even Hong Kong media want to come and learn from them." I snorted, and continued practicing my BBC listening skills with my head bowed, a bunch of psychos. Before putting my headphones back on, I saw my best friend Ching give a thumbs up and exclaim sincerely, "I've already made preparations for tomorrow's morning lecture, not going, spending a night of indulgence with you at the bar, or beating up the couple. I never thought you'd be studying here like nothing happened." Career-oriented and confident woman Ying, amazing. No, sis, you're acting really calm. Is it possible that you don't actually like Ethan? The pen in my hand stopped. Ethan was my first love. I fell in love with him at first sight. The opportunity to meet him was when I was injured during military training my freshman year and went to the infirmary. The teacher at the infirmary at that time had probably seen many injured students, and she applied the medicine without mercy and in a not very nice tone. When she was treating my wound, I just flinched from the pain, and she grabbed my hand and lectured me. "I'm applying medicine to you, why are you flinching? You girls are spoiled by your parents before you go to college, and you're so pretentious. Let me tell you, after you go to college, no one will spoil you anymore." Of course she didn't know. My parents died when I was very young. I wasn't spoiled by my parents. I was just simply afraid of pain. Parents without children shouldn't lose the right to be afraid of pain, should they? On the third day of arriving in an unfamiliar city, I was scolded, and I thought about my parents again. I felt very aggrieved. But my background has always been a source of worry for me, and I have never taken the initiative to disclose it to anyone. Of course, this moment was no exception. So I bit my lip, turned my head, and held back my tears and sobs. Just then, I met Ethan's indifferent eyes standing guard nearby. He was a volunteer on duty, dressed in a white t-shirt, with a very good bearing, and a sense of coldness all around him when he didn't speak. He walked over to me. "Teacher, this female student's wound is indeed quite deep. If possible, could you please be a little gentler?" He paused. It's not easy to just leave home to go to college. At this time, Ethan, who was clearly a year older than me, already had a sense of stability that his peers did not have. His speech was self-assured and measured, and he never offended people. You couldn't help but listen to what he had to say. The teacher at the infirmary even blushed a little when he spoke. Feeling the teacher's even more gentle movements, I looked up at Ethan with some gratitude. Under the incandescent light, his beautiful, cold features were illuminated very softly. He raised his eyebrows and gave me a slightly detached but polite smile. At that moment, my heart was filled with strange feelings, and I felt that I might have fallen in love with him. In the evening before going to bed, my best friend and I had a late-night chat. First, he questioned me about what happened with Liam. And exclaimed in amazement, "Ethan is quite a nice guy, so why did he change his mind?" I thought about it for a moment and laughed, because I changed. The next day. The morning class elective was a special course at our school. It was called The Theory and Practice of Love Studies. I was able to enroll in this course thanks to the fast-fingered and helpful Ms. Ching. When I arrived at the class on time, the large lecture hall was packed. This course has always been popular, and many students will come to sit in on it. Usually, if you arrive late, you'll just be left to sit on the steps and listen. I resigned myself to finding an empty seat and sitting on the floor. But then I saw a white hand reach out from the last row, lazily waving at me. It was Liam. My eyes lit up, and without a second's hesitation, I walked over to him. It would be foolish to avoid suspicion by not taking the seat. I had barely sat down and put my bag down when his name was suddenly called by the teacher. "Liam. Here." The teacher looked a little surprised. "That's unusual. Why is Liam here today? Didn't you say that you didn't need to take this class and you still got full marks? Liam is good-looking and has excellent grades. He gets along well with everyone at school and the teachers all like him." Liam let out a light laugh, loose and carefree, and casually interrupted the teacher, "I've missed you, teacher." The teacher was amused by him and looked around the class. "I think you're missing one of the pretty girls in our class, right?" The whole class was enjoying the show and couldn't care less, and there was a loud noise as they all looked towards Liam's seat. Of course, their attention also brought it to me. I ignored the inquisitive stares of the crowd and slowly took out my vocabulary notebook and placed it on the table. I glanced at him in the corner of my eye and saw him smiling nonchalantly. "Yes, I miss her. That's why I came here to get a perfect score on the final together." I could pretend I didn't hear the flirtatious words. But Liam had his hand propped on his head the whole class, his eyes shining as he stared at me, so it was really a little hard to ignore. Half the class had passed. I couldn't hold back any longer, so I closed my notebook and lowered my voice. "Have you had enough?" "Not yet, I love it." I was speechless. "You've been posting on social media and taking up my seat. Are you feeling sorry for me because I've been cheated on, or what?" "What do you mean?" "Of course he wants to woo you." He added the unspoken second half of my sentence. He leaned in close, resting his notebook on the table, and winked. "I've been pretty obvious, haven't I? Was that so hard to guess?" I moved my butt without saying a word. "I just broke up with your brother yesterday, and you're saying you want to date me today. Isn't that a bit too mean?" "Really? I feel like you became single again yesterday. I held back until today to confess my feelings to you, and I've already restrained my heart. Boys like Liam don't lack for girls. Ethan once commented that he was a constant winner among women. I couldn't agree more. Besides, he probably didn't know that when he said that, he hadn't even covered the hickey on his neck. That was just outrageous. I ignored him. The bell rang just as class ended, and I gathered my things and walked out, minding my own business. Who knew that we would meet again, but at the top of the stairs, I ran into Ethan. It was obvious that everyone passing by was intentionally or unintentionally paying attention. But he still looked like a high and mighty, indifferent person. Although he could put on an act, I could tell from the dark circles under his eyes that he hadn't slept well the night before. That was a relief. He was returning a book I had lent him. I took it and was about to leave. But he called out to me, his usual calm tone mixed with a hint of panic, "Ava, can we talk? About Luna and Liam." "I'm busy, I have a class later." "I have your class schedule," he was relentless, "it won't take long." "Jing. I really need to talk to you. It's about you and Liam." Of course I knew Ethan had my class schedule. But he was always a person of measure and propriety, and he should have known that was just an excuse. In my opinion, it is very improper to have a falling out with an ex-boyfriend or to remain in an ambiguous relationship. Since he is just a passerby, he should not occupy any of my time. I took a step back, my expression and tone of voice were very calm, and I interrupted him. "I think I heard everything I needed to hear yesterday. There is no point in talking about the rest today. If you want to know about Liam, you can contact him yourself. I am very busy, so please don't waste each other's time." After I finished speaking, I did not look at his reaction, and turned my head to go downstairs. On the next step, I bumped into Liam, who was eavesdropping in the corner. He stood in front of me, slowly blossoming a bright smile, and sighed, "Ava sister, what should I do? You're so cool, I can't help but like you." Goosebumps rose all over my body. Has anyone ever told you that you're oily? It's my first confession, so what if I'm oily? I can't help it, and I'm also suffering. There wasn't even the slightest hint of embarrassment on his handsome face, and instead, he slightly raised his chin. "But, chasing after a girl? It's not embarrassing." "Chasing after a girl?" I sneered as I looked at the dark red marks on his neck hidden by his collar, and slammed the book Ethan gave me onto his chest. "Suit yourself. Life is short, just endure it and it'll be over." The next day was the weekend. In the evening, seeing that I was miserable after my breakup, the cheapskate Ching, who rarely made an appearance, took the initiative and invited me to dinner at a restaurant near the university. The restaurant was very busy, and we were only able to get a small table near the entrance to a private room. Although it was a bit noisy, it was just fine. While we were ordering, my name came from a private room not far from us. "Do you guys know that Ava from the translation department? Holy shit, natural beauty. Didn't they have that fight between Liam and Jean or whatever? The quality of the girls outside is really high. Contemporary femme fatale. No, you guys really don't get it. Some girls are just packaging, but they're actually more promiscuous than anyone else. Otherwise, Liam, who never lacks women, would never fall for her. Hard to say, I think Luna is pretty good too. But after all, nothing beats dumplings, and nothing is more fun than." He didn't say the rest. But there was an unspoken evil laugh coming from the private room. It was unbearable. Ching clenched her fists, slammed the table and stood up. "Damn, what bad luck, a bunch of sons of bitches, I'm going to go in there and flip their tables over." I let out a breath of air and grabbed her wrist. But my other hand had already grabbed a stool next to me, ready to rush in at any time. In the flash of a lightning bolt, a dark figure swept past me. It looked familiar. Ching, who was facing the direction of the person's approach, recognized him as Liam before I did. I watched as Liam picked up an empty beer bottle and went in. Shit, he's crazier than I am. That bottle of wine had to be smashed on the sewing machine. I was afraid that he would get into trouble, so I put down the chair in my hand and followed him. I saw him push open the door with a dark face. Pop. The sound of the beer bottle shattering on the floor resounded throughout the enclosed compartment. The previously unrestrained voices were silenced by the commotion caused by the uninvited guest. Liam's back was full of danger, exuding a cold aura. He had barged into someone else's compartment and done such a terrifying thing, but he was still calm and even spoke in a calm tone. What are you laughing so happily about? Tell me in front of me. The slightly rising tone of his voice hinted at a hint of violence. Seeing this, Ching took my arm and took 2 steps back, leaning against the doorframe. Her tone was quite excited. Holy shit, the god has descended to earth. This guy has got the male lead script, isn't it exciting, Ava? I was silent. Why did Liam keep protecting me like this again and again? If I were to say that he really likes me, I wouldn't believe it. After all, he is the man who came to provoke me with a hickey. If Ethan, that refined scum, is secretly flirtatious, then he is blatantly scum. Are you dumb? Just now, I was listening to you guys outside and I was really excited, wasn't I? The silence in the room seemed to have worn down his patience. Liam casually took another bottle from the table and pointed at the white-clad man sitting in front of him. No one is talking, you speak. The man named was afraid that the bottle in his hand would fall on his head, and a cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Liam, we've only heard about it. This. Liam snorted. He turned to look out the door and said, Ava, come in. You saw us? Of course. Liam's tone was noticeably softer when he spoke to me. But he turned his head back, and his eyes switched to a murderous glare again. Apologize to her. Hearing this, the row of boys who had just been lawless and talking dirty, one after the other, got up enthusiastically to apologize to me. Although it was a bit of a second, in fact, relying on power to seek justice, to some extent it can also be considered magic defeating magic, which was quite enjoyable. Before leaving, I heard Liam still threatening them. I'm so fucking ashamed for you guys, can't you even understand? Fine, I'll explain it to you myself. Ethan is a scumbag, I'm Ava's lapdog, and Ava didn't do anything, so take it out on Ethan and me. Mostly Ethan. Got it? Naturally, the talk big bullies who bully the weak were quick to say they understood. So that was that, but we lost our appetite. We took a walk to the river. Liam stuck close to us like a big dog wanting a reward. Yes, his expression once again reminded me of the big yellow dog at my grandmother's house, wagging its tail and begging for food. I finally couldn't help but burst out laughing. He didn't know what I was laughing at, and he scratched his head a little embarrassed, and laughed too. What's wrong? Is my running posture silly? I blurted out, no, I think you're a bit like a puppy. But I regretted saying it as soon as it came out of my mouth. It seemed like it wasn't very polite to say something like that, and Liam and I weren't that familiar with each other yet. He froze for a moment, then reacted, and grinned. Do you like puppies? Then I can be one. Ching was standing nearby, looking mortified, shaking her head and cursing, what's that smell? It's so sour and stinky, I'm going to go take a walk. She slipped away. Liam was delighted and stood next to me. Ava, I still owe you an apology. It was my inconsideration. The other day, I only wanted to teach Ethan a lesson, and I didn't expect to cause you to be gossiped about by others. I'm really sorry that I ran into you today. I was a little surprised and raised an eyebrow at him. His first reaction was to apologize to me, not to take credit from me in exchange for favors. I was being petty. I felt ashamed of my own unkindness and pursed my lips uncomfortably. You have stood up for me twice, so thank you really no matter what. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have known about Ethan and Luna. He stopped in his tracks. You don't have to thank me for this, Ava. Everyone is selfish. The evening breeze by the river blew his fine black bangs. It revealed a bit of self-made teenage spirit. The sound of his voice was blown a bit by the river breeze, but every word fell into my heart. Ava, I like you. Very much. The reason I let you break up with Ethan is not entirely for your sake, but more to give myself a chance to stand by your side in an open and fair way. That's all. Sometimes I really envy time. It has no emotions and just keeps flowing day after day. It doesn't get thrown off balance because I've been cuckolded by someone or because someone inexplicably confessed their love for me by the river. Another month passed in the blink of an eye. I was selected by the college to participate in the simultaneous interpretation competition of the International Interpreting Contest for College Students, which was hosted by our school. This competition is highly valuable in our major, and since it is hosted by our school, it is of great importance to me. I spent every day and night in the library preparing for it. Liam, after hearing about this, was very understanding and said he would wait for my triumphant return. And he really meant it. On Friday, when I went to my elective class, he, who never came to class, arrived early, contrary to his usual habit, just to save me the trouble of finding a seat in the back of the classroom so that I could focus on studying. That was pretty good. But Ethan was not so easy to deal with. He heard from somewhere that I was with Liam, and Liam was reserving a seat for me every week, and the wrong message that I was having a fling with him. For several days in a row, he sent me harassing text messages day and night. Ava, are you really with Liam? You know, Liam changes girlfriends at a rate. I want to talk to you. Luo is really just my neighbor's younger sister. I grew up watching her. The person I like has never been anyone but you, Ava. Don't let Liam fool you, okay? I finally couldn't stand it anymore and blacklisted him. It was peaceful for a few days, but I soon heard from others that he had started dating Luna. Luna very publicly posted a social media feed of the two of them holding hands tightly. The caption read, "Those in love are not afraid of being late." In response, Qingqing couldn't help but condemn the two of them, scumbag and bitch, disgusting. I glanced at her from my word book and laughed. If you're going to pay attention to this, you might as well go study for your CT6 exam. She sighed again. Jingzi, you can love and let go, a role model for us. I quite like this sentence. Love and let go. If university is like a swimming pool for a duck that has never swum before. Then Ethan, who appeared during military training and gave me a hand, is the buoy for beginners. Now I don't dwell on what kind of feelings I have for that buoy. Because I've already learned to swim. In the new world, free from the bonds of family, I'm like a fish in water, doing what I love and moving towards the dream of my childhood. I don't need anyone to save me in the water. Because I'm Ava. Born to be the kind of person who should rely on their own abilities to explore the wider sea. I'm busy preparing for exams, but I never miss classes or take time off. Every day, I get up at 6 o'clock sharp to practice my ears at the school lake and arrive at the classroom on time. In the past few weeks, at this time on Friday, I should have seen a pair of hands greeting me from the top and farthest corner of the lecture hall. And there would be Liam with a big smile. But not today. Habits are a terrible thing. Just like the biological clock that has made me get up at 6 o'clock for years without an alarm clock. I actually felt a little strange that noisy Liam wasn't by my side. I sat with a frown in my seat, and the student sitting next to me told me, "Classmate, Liam is sick and couldn't come to school today, so he asked me to take his place." Only then did I realize that Liam was sick. In my heart, he was as strong as an ox, so how could he get sick? He was sick and couldn't come to class. And he even remembered to ask someone to take my place in line, but he just didn't remember to tell me. We've been desk mates for over a month. A series of questions lingered in my mind like a dark fog. After misspelling the simple word, riposte, 3 times in a row, I angrily threw down my pen. I decided to go to his house to check on him. Liam is a local, but his parents are always abroad on business. He lives alone in a 300 square meter home in the city center. When I asked him for the code, he told me with a smirk, your birthday. I was shocked. Sick. In order to flirt with a girl, he had to get up and change the code on the combination lock. Maybe he really does have some real feelings for me. When I entered the door, he was wearing a white tank top and slumped on the sofa playing games. His fit and toned body was clearly visible under the tank top, and the scent of testosterone hit me in the face. Compared to the gentle and refined Ethan, Liam is clearly the more aggressive type. But the fever patch on his head and the purple Krokomi blanket wrapped around him add a touch of vulnerability to him. "You're here." He smiled and dropped the gamepad in his hands, feeling self-conscious about wearing a mask. I saw the red bloodshot from his fever in his eyes, and he looked a bit sick. His voice was also very nasal. I've looked it up online, and the risk of infection from the common cold is generally considered to be zero at a distance of 3 meters. But your health is of the utmost importance, so just to be on the safe side, it's best if you talk to me from a distance of 5 tiles, using me as the center. I was holding the fruit basket, and he had me completely flustered. I was annoyed. I couldn't stand it when people went out of their way to think of me. I kind of bought it. And Liam really did look like a loyal puppy. Plans change. I never expected to end up studying at Liam's house, when I had just come to visit him. It was probably because of the floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the bustling city center. Ever since I was little, I had always dreamed of studying in front of a floor-to-ceiling window, from the first ray of sunshine in the morning to the last rays of sunset in the evening. And in front of his floor-to-ceiling window there was an oversized desk and an eye protection desk lamp. Faced with this configuration, who wouldn't be addicted to studying? I said cheekily, "Liam, I have an unreasonable request." "Go ahead," he said. "Can I study in front of your floor-to-ceiling window? I promise I won't disturb you. In fact, you can make an even more unreasonable request 100 times, and I can promise to grant it too." He sounded a little disappointed and a little shocked. "Go ahead and read. I'll go back to my room and take a nap. The cleaning lady will be here in a while." So I read, and I really didn't care where I was going, for 4 hours. I was very absorbed in my reading. So when I took off my headphones and looked up and saw that the lights were on in every house outside, I was not unafraid. The cleaning lady came. As I stretched out by the bed, the maid held up a leather notebook in front of me and said that she had cleaned up the diary and didn't know where to put it. I was a little shocked that someone like Liam would keep a diary. I took the notebook, which was heavy in my hands, and the crumpled pages meant that it had been with him for quite a long time. What a pure-hearted Liam. How many surprises do you have that I don't know about? As it turned out, there really were some. Because Liam's diary was on the table, when the wind blew it up, I accidentally glanced at my name in the inside pages. Joie. I was stunned. I paced in front of Liam's room with the diary in a mixture of emotions. I heard a weak voice from inside, "By the way, you can read whatever you like in the pink binder." There was indeed a pink heart-shaped binder in the diary, holding about 10 pages. September 2, 2021. Today I did a good deed. I went out of the school gate to buy a pack of cigarettes, and ended up helping a little girl carry her luggage. Don't blame me for being over-friendly. The main reason is that I saw other people bringing their families along, but she was all alone, crying, and her eyes were so red, just like the rabbit I had when I was little. September 10, 2021. I ran into my rabbit-like schoolmate again on the way to play ball. I didn't realize how pretty she was. It seems my mother was right. Don't let girls cry, girls are still prettier when they don't cry. September 13, 2021. Today, when I was helping my roommate run the complaint wall account, I seemed to have encountered Bunny Schoolgirl. Although it was anonymous, I guessed it was her from her experience of crying alone on the train when she first started school. I was a big guy in front of the computer desk, comforting her while crying. Damn, I'm really not a human, and I actually let her take 2 small bags by herself. If I had known, I should have helped her carry 1 more bag. October 5, 2021. I went to the internet cafe at the school gate to go online and ran into my classmate, Rabbit, again. She works there part-time as a network administrator. Nima, fate is unstoppable when it comes, and it turns out her name is Ava. I teased her and asked her for instant noodles and sausages several times, but she kept her head buried in her books and didn't recognize me. Heartless Rabbit schoolmate. October 6, 2021. I can't go to the internet cafe anymore, Liam. October 7, 2021. I can't go to the internet cafe anymore, Liam. October 9, 2021. Damn it, why is my diary full of Ava? I can't stop thinking about her, too. I think I'm in love. November 7, 2021. Ethan, fuck you. November 15, 2022. I'm sorry to add Ava messaging app in this way. I blocked her social media feed, as well as Ethan. Damn, it's annoying to be a young fool. December 13th, 2022. Fuck, I'm so fucking frustrated. I've never been in a relationship, and I've been mistaken for a scumbag 13,469,464 times. I'm tired of it. Being good-looking is really God's punishment for me. January 1st, 2022. 6,666, and they even asked me to spend New Year's Eve with them. What bad luck. New Year's Eve, screw you. February 7th, 2022. Is there really anyone who can stay together for 3 months? Destroy it, Ethan. September 15th, 2022. I told Ethan today, if you can't take care of Ava, I'll do it. He actually fought with me in front of Luo Jinshin. What a moron. Ava was here today too, and she really doesn't look as good when she's crying as when she's smiling. September 18th, 2022. I don't need to be beautiful to define you, I use you to define beauty. It's fucking beautiful. I closed the diary with mixed feelings and held it in my arms. Knocking on the door, I heard my voice a little hoarse. Liam, why did you deliberately show me this? He said loudly, it's not a problem to be too subtle. Whether you like me or not, love should be spoken out loud. Isn't it embarrassing for a guy to chase a girl? I couldn't help Liam. My head was reeling, my heart beating so fast I could hardly catch my breath, and I practically fled when I left his house. Following the words in my diary, my thoughts also recalled the period when I first entered university. My aunt and uncle's daughter was also going to university that year, so it made sense that I should go to school by myself. However, seeing that almost every classmate had their parents by their side, I couldn't help crying all the way. Back then, I was a big crybaby. I did meet a kind senior that day, but I was too busy grieving to remember what he looked like. Not long after the semester started, I saw a tree hole poster on the school wall. It was a place where you could vent your negative energy. That day, I had just received a call from my aunt and uncle telling me not to go home for the Mid-Autumn Festival. My aunt told me that her family was going on a trip to Hainan and that no one would be home. She might have just said the word family casually, but it made my heart feel heavy. That night, I registered for a new account, went to the supermarket and bought 3 bottles of beer. For the first time in my life, I drank and chatted with the tree hole for 3 hours. The tree hole said to me, unfortunately, life is not a blank canvas, everyone has their own background. But to be fair, we all only have one pen. If you want, you can use this pen to draw the picture of your life. And welcome to the best university in the country. I think your parents would be happy for you to make such a big splash. These words were actually from Liam. I can't even remember the experience of working part-time as an internet cafe manager. In fact, I had many part-time jobs in college. Compared to delivering packages or the like, it was indeed a very laid-back job where I could work while studying. But in the end, my boss fired me because he saw that I only studied English every day and I refused to wear a bunny girl costume. As for the first time I added Liam to the messaging app, I remember it was after dinner when Ethan took the initiative to let me add him. He said, "This is my best friend, you will see him a lot in the future." Liam, on the other hand, smoked a cigarette with a cool look, not even looking at me. Who the fuck is your friend? Who the fuck sees each other a lot? At the time, I thought Liam didn't really like me, and I didn't take it to heart. Plus, after we posted our names on the messaging app, we never talked again. I once asked Ethan, does Liam not really like me? Ethan smiled and put his arm around me. He can't stand the fact that I'm happier than him. After all, who wouldn't be jealous of someone with such a great girlfriend? That was the end of it. Now that I think about it, was Liam involved in all these seemingly insignificant past events? If so, that's really something. I'm so glad we met. 5 days later. The simultaneous interpreting skills competition I had been preparing for over a month was held at our university as scheduled. Top experts from nearly 30 universities at home and abroad gathered together. The pressure to compete was great, and I was so nervous before the competition that I wanted to throw up. But I was able to rely on Liam's trash talk to relieve my stress. Hard work pays off. In the end, I lived up to the expectations of my instructor and won first place in the individual event as expected. On the podium, the spotlight hit my head, and I was surrounded by countless flowers, applause, and cameras. The host asked me if I had anything I wanted to say. I took the microphone, looked out at the audience, and saw Liam waving frantically at me from the audience platform, oblivious to the stares of the others. I was so moved that I almost burst into tears. Someone once told me that life is not a blank sheet of paper, but that everyone has their own background. Today, I have received this trophy, and I want to say that even if it is made of gray cardboard, it can be made colorful. Thank you all. And thank you, Ava. Thank you for loving yourself. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for holding this pen in your hand and writing every stroke with great care. The next day was elective class. With a huge stone removed from my heart, I arrived at the classroom half an hour early, with a light and brisk pace. I thought it was my turn to save a seat for Liam. But he arrived even earlier than me. In the large classroom, he was the only one sitting in the corner, waving at me, "Good morning, Mr. Champion." Just like yesterday when he was in the audience. I walked up the steps towards him. "How early do you come every day?" "The earliest today." "Why?" He raised his eyebrows and smiled with a smug look on his face. "I guessed you'd come early, so I wanted to see my goddess earlier." My gaze lingered on the dark red on his neck. I suddenly thought of something. When I first saw this, I thought it was a hickey. I also realized that he had rosacea when I saw the ointment in his house later. He covered his neck and laughed evilly. "Wow, you kid, so early you start to be jealous of my—" "Ah yes, yes, yes." I perfunctorily answered him while taking out my vocabulary notebook from my bag. Liam had a direct pupil earthquake and held down my notebook. "Still memorizing? Isn't it over?" I disagreed and pulled out the notebook. "I want to be a good professional interpreter, and language learning is a lifelong pursuit. So when can I become a lifelong pursuit for you?" His voice suddenly dropped, and he looked at me with burning eyes. The atmosphere suddenly became a little sticky. "What?" I looked up at him, my heart pounding like thunder. "I mean, Ava, I have listened very carefully to this class, and I have already mastered the theory of love. So." He paused, looking at me pitifully. "Can I have a go at it too? I really want to get full marks, sister, it's very important to me. I think that people's thoughts are truly the most fluid things in the world." In the same seat, not long ago I was resisting Liam's advances. But now, I have no resistance to his gaze. Maybe he already knows the weakest and darkest part of me, but he is still willing to choose to hug me like a puppy. At the celebration yesterday, Liam and I talked openly and honestly about my feelings for Ethan. I said that Ethan is like my buoy. Liam's first reaction was to ask me, "So what am I like?" I didn't give him an answer. But today I thought of it. I took Liam's hand, and the warm touch sent a shiver through me. The physical connection went straight to my heart. "Liam, you're the person I most want to hold hands with in this vast ocean of life. Let's put that into practice. After all, my grades really matter to me." After a moment of silence, Liam's eyes turned a little red. "Fuck." I heard Liam mutter a swear word. "I have an unreasonable request." "Tell me. Can you come outside for a bit? I want to kiss you, but I don't think it's appropriate in the classroom." We both laughed.